Wait. Okay, it says live.
We are live. Okay. Now, you guys got to bear with me here. I got to see if I can load. Do we have banners? Okay. Anyways, hey guys, Liberty Libations, episode 27. I am filling in tonight for Jake. He has abandoned us, and he's even gone so far as to make up stories of fictional places like Montana, where he's going. So we're not sure that exists or if he's coming back. But anyways, I'm the next best thing until then. And as such, we don't really have the opening credits because I'm a Luddite and apparently can't find where to load these things. I just found out an hour ago I'm hosting this. So anyways, I guess the opening credits is going to be...
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Cheers, everybody. Okay, so tonight's topic is we're going to talk about Gloria Alvarez a little bit, and then the dollar taking a crap. Now, there was some big stuff in the works, and if you just need proof that there's big financial things going on, I had a fortune cookie today, and oh crap, did I grab the wrong one? Anyways, this was good, and I got to read this. But I was like, wow, the fortune cookie knew this bill was going to pass.
Nice.
So, money is the root of all evil, and a man needs roots.
In bed.
Exactly. Exactly. But it was just funny, with everything that was going on. I opened that up and I'm like, wow, because we just passed the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
Mm.
And, if we know anything about Congress, when they name a bill, it does the exact opposite in triplicate.
Yeah, and worse, yeah.
Yeah. So we know that there's going to be no fiscal responsibility at all. I was trying to comb through some of the notes a little bit, and from what I can tell, this is basically a big tax on energy. They're going to try to give away, some student loan forgiveness crap. They're going to tax energy. They're going to tax the crap out of energy, and then a lot of these things that they're boasting. What's that?
I was just going to say the loan forgiveness is like the bait and switch are like to get people to rally behind it and then to support it because they have their own self-interest that they want. And then they'll kind of like glaze over the rest of it. I don't know. To put those two together doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But
oh, absolutely. It's just wild to me. And I don't know how they're going to fund it. So what they're going to do all this chest thumping saying that, oh, well, we cut the deficit. This is going to cut the deficit. Bear in mind, this is a spending bill. So this is just like, a clothing store saying, come save 35%. But how much do you have to spend for that to happen?
Yeah.
So all the savings that they're going to boast about are not actual savings.
Right.
Because the key thing this thing does is suspends the debt limit until January 2025.
Which is a ways off.
Absolutely. So they're estimating at least $4 trillion is going to be added to the deficit between now and then. And I don't know where the money's coming from. Because we're gonna lower the deficit, but by lowering the deficit, all they really mean is they're cutting the increase.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's like what someone had said in our thread. They were like, "We're slowing the rate of approaching the cliff down from 60 to 5 miles an hour, but we're still going right for the cliff." Like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, you're still going over the cliff. It's just we're gonna go slower over the cliff.
Yeah. My goodness.
So, and we even showed the clip a few shows ago in here of Janet Yellen testifying before Congress, just getting grilled by Trey Gowdy. I think it was Trey Gowdy. Yeah. Might have been somebody else.
She's horribly entertaining, at least. I mean, in the worst way, like every time she speaks, basically. But.
Yeah, but this guy was just point blank. The deficit is this, and it's going to be this. Is that second number higher than this one? Yes. Okay, then you're adding to the deficit. You are not cutting the deficit. She's like, well, you don't understand because I understand. One of those numbers is bigger than the other.
Yeah, it's trickery. It's cutting the rate of increase. It's not cutting the total deficit. Yeah, it's honestly I don't know how legally we're even able to call it like cutting the deficit at all. But
yeah, it's the clown world Washington math. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, oh man,
it's like where they show you the tippy top of the bar graph, and then they extrapolate that out to make it look like it's different, and then they're missing all this other stuff. It's like one of those type of tricks.
Oh yeah, and then let me see if I can share this here. So I don't know if you can really see this, but I just got curious, and I was browsing the Yellow Vest protest, and I thought it was interesting. because it was, what was it caused by? So this started in France and November 18th, and all the guys were yelling. They were wearing yellow vests while they were doing their protesting, doing all the rioting, breaking stuff, all that kind of stuff. And they were wearing yellow vests because there was a statute in 2008 that all the truck drivers had to wear yellow vests.
Mm-hmm.
So this started because of rising crude oil prices. They had a fuel tax, traffic enforcement cameras. Any of this sound familiar, guys? Just hang on here. Austerity measures. Oh, wow. A wealth tax repeal, which, I'm on board with that. So broken clock is right twice a day.
Honestly, just the older I get, just tax repeal in general.
Oh, absolutely.
People, yeah.
Yeah, you can demonize it of like, oh, well, why do the rich people get it? Why does this class get it? Why does that class get it? And it's like, well, I think every class should have it. How about that?
Yeah.
So, austerity measures, they got class conflict, opposition to neoliberalism. Oh my God. And this was in 2018. Let's see here. They wanted an increase in minimum wage, which, here that's been one of the mantras here for, I want to say, at least 10 years. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we got to have a $15 an hour minimum wage. Well, here in the South, in Georgia, now, of course, Metro Atlanta is not really a cheap cost of living, but comparatively across the country, Georgia is. And just by proxy, there's not a law in place saying that's the minimum wage, but people don't work for less than, I would say, 13 an hour. Mm-hmm. I mean, the burger flippers are starting out at 13 an hour now. And
wow,
some of the places that, where that wasn't enough, that's when you see the little kiosk menus where you have to put in the order yourself, or you'll have a robot back there flipping burgers. So there is a price point where it makes sense for them to get a robot for minimum wage type work. That's why minimum wage exists. It's not to support a family. It's for you to get a leg up and get some job experience.
I got on like a rant the last time I was in a McDonald's with my girlfriend because they're putting up all these like little, touchscreen kiosk things or whatever about this and about like that raising the minimum wage too drastically, too suddenly is basically motivating companies that can afford to go, AI and go robotic and go, unmanned or whatever to do so. And it's going to end up hurting more people than helping if you do it too suddenly.
Yeah, absolutely. The robot does a better job getting my order right. Amen to that, brother. Yeah. Good grief. True. You give the McDonald's guy $20 an hour. The ice cream machine still isn't fixed.
It never works. Why is it?
Yeah.
I think it's a myth, man. They don't even have one back there.
Yeah.
Speaking of
it's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think more of this is interesting here. So they wanted, improved standard of living. They wanted an end to austerity measures. So that's basically, cuts to pension, certain subsidies, things like that. But they, the austerity measures are scaling back on a lot of that is promises the government's already made. So while, I disagree with the Social Security program in general,
right.
It's a horrible program. It's been bankrupt for, I think, at least 30 years now.
But now we're so deep in it that it's like, if you were starting from scratch and you were to build it or not build it, that's one thing. But now we're so used to having it, like culturally, even just people accepting that it's there. Like now it's a whole different complicated thing. But
absolutely. But guys like us that are in our 30s, say we started working at 15, so now we got 20 years in the labor force. If I can opt out of this thing, I will.
I mean, I'm not relying on it at all. I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that the folks that are retired now, or they're close to it, or they're more than halfway there, they've been made a promise. They've paid into something their entire life. That you need to fulfill that promise. But me, I'd rather opt into something else. I've seen some documentaries on, and I hate comparing us to Nordic countries, but I think it was either like Norway or Denmark or something like that, where their pension program was based in investments, and so even like a moderate investment scheme, the government can still make money off of that. So what are the low end investors getting you?
So it's like a win-win kind of situation, like
like your Schwabs or your Ed Jones or something like that. Somebody had struck up like a government contract of like, if you didn't have a savings plan, you could enroll in the government savings plan, and they guarantee you, say, a meager 4% over your lifetime, which is that's dog crap compared to the market. Anybody worth their salt right now is getting you like 7 to 10. But if you're promised a 4% return, that's already way better than Social Security. because these folks aren't even getting back dollar for dollar when you adjust it for inflation.
Is Social Security really less than 4?
Oh, it's nothing. It's
Wow.
less than dollar for dollar. It's not even a one-to-one transaction.
I don't know a lot about it because I've just like written it off. And at one point, I looked into it and I was like, that is not worth even chasing. And I don't remember the numbers, but I knew it wasn't good. But that if it's less than 4, that's like abysmal.
Right. Well, and that's another thing that a lot of the European countries have done, because I know like the UK did it. What was it, like 2010 or something like that, when they had their austerity riots? That was one of the things they did, was raise the retirement age. And I think that's what France just recently did as well. And I think we have a relatively low retirement age compared to the rest of the world.
I didn't think about that, but I think you're probably right, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, 65. And the average, life expectancy now is like what, 80, 85, and by the time we get there, it's probably going to be 100.
I just thought the what is it? The Talladega Nights, the Ricky Bobby quote, where it's like, it's not crazy to think with my high level income and the advancements in modern science, I could live to be 150, 180. Sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and to get back to the austerity riots here, or the yellow vest protests, I just can't help but find these parallels right now. So let's see, they made some demands. And of course, I mean, this is Wikipedia. This isn't the official source, but just reading through these bullet points is really interesting.
Yeah.
So they wanted government transparency and accountability. They wanted improved government services for rural areas, which, we just did a big broadband initiative to get that all over, the Appalachian Mountains, rural Georgia, get it to the farming communities, things like that. So, that's kind of already been done here.
Because we're looking to move to Chattanooga, and I just heard that area out there has some of the best internet in the country, which is...
Oh, dude, they were the first in the nation to get gigabit Ethernet in the city limits.
I didn't know this until recently, but you're right,
Yeah.
That's cool. I wouldn't have guessed, of all the cities.
Well, yeah, because Chattanooga, it's not too far from... So you got the Alcoa plant, and then... oh, crap, I forget the name of the town now because I'm doing a live broadcast, but it's a big nuclear facility.
They've got nuclear. They've got a couple of different big I think Volkswagen has a big headquarters there, and there's some big energy and big money out there. So you're looking for the town name for that has the nuclear power. I think actually out there, is it out that way that has a particle accelerator or something weird too, that no one talks about. But it's East Tennessee somewhere. I think there's a particle accelerator. Yeah,
I think it starts with a W. I don't know why it's evading me right now.
Oh,
but
anyways, I'm the worst at that. Don't worry.
The French government under Macron, we don't know if he was sexually abused as a kid. Rumors has it that he was. So he's kind of like a puppet for some of those guys. If you believe that there's a pedophile elite running the world right now.
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean, I do. Yeah.
Well, you just look at how rampant it's been in such big institutions. So anyway, some of the concessions the French government made, they canceled the fuel tax. 6-month moratorium on diesel and petrol price changes. What? Let's see here. They promised they wouldn't increase some tariffs.
Is that 6 months where they can't change the price? Is that what that is?
Where they can't do anything to the taxes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, they froze the prices. So as price controls, don't like that.
How you felt about that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's government intervention in the free market. We don't like that.
That's what. Okay, so this, as a libertarian, I was going to ask you how you feel about that as a solution to the problem. Is that then, in a way, on a principled way, its own problem, as a
Oh, absolutely. So say in the Florida Panhandle, right after a hurricane comes through,
right?
Everybody's like, oh, well, he's price gouging. Look, all of a sudden he's charging $2 a battery for AA batteries,
right?
And it's like, well, he's only got 100 batteries on the shelf. And he's not going to get more for another month, and he's got to pay the rent. And that's the only way to prevent somebody from walking in and buying all his batteries at normal market rate.
It's a tough call. It's a hard. I get why people. I wonder if there's some in between where you can't have the government come in and say you can't change the price at all from what it was, or if there's a percentage increase or something like that based on what it was prior to an event. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but.
I can tell you what the solution is, or I can at least tell you what the solution is not, and it's a government answer.
Let's start with that, honestly,
Yeah, I mean, because they're guaranteed they're going to screw up everything they touch. Yeah. Because then not only that, who's going to enforce that? So after a hurricane comes through, somebody goes and audits the gas station. Is that a whole government wing of, post-disaster auditing? Does FEMA handle that? So does FEMA take over all the businesses when they come in an area?
I don't want FEMA to touch anything. So,
amen. Good. I mean, look what they did to Katrina. You had the Cajun Navy there trying to grill hamburgers for folks, and they were like, "Oh, well, this isn't FDA regulated facilities."
Get out of here!
I was like, screw that, dude. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's cooked right. I don't have any other food, and these guys rolled up on a boat bringing me some.
Yeah.
But yeah, so FEMA, even the Red Cross, they were stopping donations from going to towns.
Weird.
There was locals in the surrounding area trying to help out, but once FEMA sets up shop, they have a monopoly on disaster aid.
Yeah. They have weird laws that protect them too when they do set up shop. Not quite as extreme as, but along the lines of like if the UN sets up in an area that their own, like that jurisdiction becomes theirs then, and it supersedes state and federal law.
Yep.
It's wild. Like if they set up a pop-up tent kind of a thing in a hospital, your rights as a citizen. Hey, Jake's here.
Hey, there he is.
Hey, what up, fellas?
What's up?
You in Montana?
Dude, I made it to Montana yesterday.
Is Montana a real place? We were saying that we think it's basically AI generated. Yeah.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Pretty AI generated, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt what y'all were talking about.
Oh, no worries, man. I'm glad you're here.
Heck yeah.
That's super cool.
I have to do it on my daggum phone because for some reason, what is it about Wi-Fi and computers that suck worse than Wi-Fi and phones?
Oh, no, for sure. Mine actually just shit the bed, and I had to run Ethernet, which is just better anyway.
Oh, yeah. I wish I had Ethernet here, but Starlink doesn't allow you to use Ethernet.
No way, really?
Wow.
Yeah, there's no port for it.
Even if you're running it from a modem to your computer or something like that, or like
You don't get an option for a modem.
there isn't one? I've never used Starlink, but that's wild.
It's just one box from Starlink. It has a power port and an input from the satellite, and that's it.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
There has to be some kind of hub unit for the house that they could allow you to plug cables into.
Hopefully they come up with that because my computer, the upload speeds on a computer over Starlink is horrendous.
Crawling, yeah.
But I can do it with the phone. It makes no sense. Anyway, what were y'all talking about? What's the topic?
So we were just getting into the financial stuff, taking a crap, and I was drawing some parallels right now to where my mind is going. I got an itch today, and I looked up the Yellow Vest riots in France, and so I was going over some of the points that they were rioting against.
Okay.
And
nice.
How did that happen?
That was me. Oh,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was on accident. I was trying to expand the screen so I can see y'all better, but I can't do anything on the phone.
Gotcha. So I was just going over some of the bullet points of why the Yellow Vest riots were happening, and it's eerily similar to what we're going through.
Yeah.
And then I was just going over some of the concessions that they got as part of that was.
Did you say this was 08 or 06 or when was this?
This was 2018 that started, and then and then magically the pandemic happened.
Oh yeah.
And
it was magic. Pandemic.
Yes, it was magic. It was magic. There was a pangolin. There was a pangolin and a bat that got together at the Wuhan market.
It was black magic.
And I think we need some federal money to be spent on whether or not they had Luther Vandross playing to encourage the mating rituals.
Have you been watching South Park, Steve?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that was the pandemic episode.
Yeah.
You throw in the word chin diaper, and that's basically the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, anyways, I mean, all they had to do was just show up and start spraying manure all over the government officials' houses and burning things down and occupying, to use a bastardized word, some of the government facilities. And as such, they got to repeal some taxes. And then look at this: elimination of tax on overtime and end-of-year bonuses. My God, this is in France. Liberal France doesn't tax overtime or end-of-year bonuses anymore. Wow. Because you got some truck drivers that got together and said, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm tired of these traffic cameras. I'm tired of these austerity measures. I'm tired of this.
like their willingness to start riots in the streets over the tiniest things. Like, I mean, and they're tiny to like nowadays culture, but like it's almost equivalent to a 2% tax on tea. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and they really gave birth to our ideology, our spirit of rebellion. I mean, they seeded that here, and I don't want that to be lost. I mean, I know there's the jokes of what's the French battle stance,
Yeah.
But when it
It's
really
fair.
gets down
They
to
do
it,
give up in wars pretty quickly.
right. But apparently they're good at speaking their mind, which is something we've lost.
That's true. That's true, and it also shows up in person because I've been to France, and almost every French person I met is asshole. So, like, they're just, I don't know what it is, but they are not the kindest people over there.
Maybe they're just not kind to you.
That could be, although I was perfectly pleasant. So I don't know.
Yeah, but a pleasant American is an American,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we might just have a bad name around the world. That's probably why they hate us.
I wonder, honestly, like if I were to travel, like these days, like what would the reception be? I'm not sure, but
yeah,
I had a buddy that used to slap a Canadian maple leaf on his luggage when he would go travel on his backpack. He's like, I don't know, I get less flack from people. Like people are a lot nicer when I think of Canadian.
Yeah, Canadians aren't threatening. They're
exactly
generally nice people.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just, have sex with moose every now and then.
What's all that about?
Yeah, everyone knows
man.
You use a sheep,
So yeah, here you go, Jake. I'll tell you, I got a fortune cookie today.
Okay.
And it says, money is the root of all evil, and a man needs roots.
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, that is an incorrect thing.
Yeah, it's the love of money. Is the root of all evil.
Love of money. Is the
yes.
root of all evil. Yeah.
But I just, it's like a U.S. House Republican wrote this fortune ticket here.
That's great. Yeah. It's crazy how often that phrase gets bastardized. Like no one knows the original, phrasing of it, except Christians.
Right.
Like, because they try to skew it to make Christians look bad, and make anybody who and even bad Christians will skew it to make rich people look bad. It's like money is the root of all evil. Well, no, it's not. It's actually loving the money and being obsessed with the money.
I love it on Dave Ramsey's show when somebody tunes in and tries to throw scripture at him as to how he shouldn't be a millionaire.
Yeah, don't do that to him.
There's so many problems with interpretations of things and lost in translation stuff and the concept of the meek shall inherit the earth. But if you look back through and what meek means, it's not weak people. The definition was more close to that. It was apparent, from what I'm told, it was more those with power, but that elect not to use it on people without power. Basically having a sword, but then keeping it sheathed, not having a sword. It's a different thing,
Yeah, and Jordan Peterson talks about that.
That's who I was. I didn't know if you knew this, but that's who I am getting this from directly.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I love how he talks about it's not for some reason being weak has become a noble thing to be. But he's there's no morality in being weak. If you can't do anything, if you can't fight back, or you can't hurt someone, there's no morality in that. It's if you can hurt someone and you choose not to.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. It's the choice to, be peaceable, but that you have the capacity not to is more important as a statement. And in our culture, it kind of goes into the masculinity type stuff too a little bit more recently. Yeah.
It's the folks that beat their swords into plowshares, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Doesn't mean they're not warriors. They just, found a different use for it for now.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, the keyboard warrior, Yeah. That's actually an interesting point too, and it just because you aren't physically harming someone, it's not a substitute. It doesn't mean you can be, rude or cutting, or you can be, and honestly have more of that energy than if you or I would say similarly as much,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, anyways, getting into one of the titles of the show, the dollar takes a crap.
Yeah.
So I'll bring this guy up here. And why is it not?
Oh, before we get into this, the dollar thing, it reminded me of something I wanted to ask about the, what were we just talking about before? Oh, Social Security. That was what made me think of this. If you get like 1.5% or 2% or something like that over years, what happens when inflation hits? Does that like negate basically like your savings over time? Like if inflation is at a similar rate of your savings, wouldn't it kind of like zero out? I'm not good with money, but I would think that would basically destroy what you thought you accumulated over.
So and that was big news too, of how the government was giving everybody the COLA increase for Social Security, cost of living adjustment, and it was like 4.5%, but inflation's at 10%. So all your groceries are up across the board 15 to 25%, but hey, we gave you an extra 4.5 in your check.
Yeah,
but we're taxing it.
Like, wouldn't that basically end up kind of negating if the cost of living goes up so much because of something like inflation at just an exorbitant rate?
Yeah. Well, and here's the extra slap in the face. Why are they taxing Social Security checks?
I agree. I know my grandma said something about that to me. She's like, "Oh, and then taxes." And I'm like, on something that you already wasn't it taxed already at one point? If it was based on income, or is it not taxed prior? I don't know. I don't know enough about taxes, honestly.
Yeah. And let me see here. You're going to have to forgive me while I fumble around and figure out how to screen share again. Let's see. Share.
Sorry, I just wanted to interject with that one little bit.
Yeah.
But move on. Where are we going? Take us to the next thing.
Let's see. I got to bring something up here. I'm trying to figure out how to share the screen. What's up, Jake?
I'm back. I came down next to the router.
It looks good now, yeah.
Sweet. Okay. All right, let's see. How do I share something?
Well, I got you here. I know you like the Islay.
Oh, sketches. Nice.
Ooh.
This is my birthday present.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
The 10 year. I've had the 6 year before. Oh, the 10 year is so good.
I've never had
to take a swig. I've had both. Honestly, for a 6 year, for a young one, it drinks really good, actually.
Okay, that's nice.
I gotta take a swig.
Yeah, there's some like younger scotches and whiskeys that taste like better than their older counterparts.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes they can stay in the wood for like too long, and they take on a character that's like, I don't want to say like astringent, but like it's a little. It overpowers the actual whiskey note sometimes, yeah.
For sure.
But I know you like the big, like, smoky, peaty, like, scotches, so.
Yeah, man. Love them.
Lafrague is one of, like, my go-tos.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I've got like 4 different bottles of Lagavulin. And like
isn't that the, like, what's his name from Parks and Rec? Ron
Swanson.
Ron Swanson's whiskey, the Lagavulin. It's like the only thing I ever see him drink.
All right, let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to share a screen here.
Okay.
I had it.
You know what I go through.
Yeah, I had it, and then I closed it. Let's see.
He did have, I can attest, he did have it running before we started here, so.
Yeah, no, he did. I was on when I showed up. Here,
Jake, you picked the right person to do it.
Yeah, I wasn't going to pick you.
No, I'm a dinosaur.
All right, so Angelo says, did y'all see the John Stossel interview with Gloria Alvarez? She admitted as of now her run for president is technically BS because she's not 40 years old and doesn't have a political party yet. Yeah,
right. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. Oh, y'all already talked about that?
Well, not yet.
Brought it up last week.
I was getting to it.
Gotcha.
Well, let's see if I can share the screen. Let's see if I can figure that out.
Will she be old enough by the time she would be like inaugurated, or no?
I don't think so. I think she's a little short, but I don't look up her actual age. Hey, Steve might have it here in a second.
It's a good campaign strategy, either preemptively for your next run, or just like culturally and politically to just kind of challenge, the status quo. He got it.
But it's only if it's in a browser tab for some reason.
As opposed to what?
because I had a forex chart I was going to share.
Oh, you can share from not a browser tab.
Let me see, because it's not.
If you just go, yeah, you can just go to share screen, and then you can do multiple different. You can do like browser tab. You can do entire a window or a screen.
Why is it not letting me do this then?
Okay, maybe your computer has some limits on it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so.
That could be it. What's the forex chart about?
Okay, so anyways, yes. So the forex chart, I was going to show you an illustration of how the dollar took a crap. I took a snapshot of some various currency pairs at 3:45 this afternoon, and it was like a little 12-hour snapshot, and you could see at the opening of our markets. So we got the euro, and so the way forex trades is you make money on what's called pips, points and percentage. I'm not going to get too nerdy on that for you, but anyway, so the euro versus the USD. So that's the euro versus the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually right on par. So anyways, this thing went up 95 pips. So the average daily range on this stuff is 25 to 35 pips.
Wow.
So this is like 3 times more than a normal shift that the euro gained on us this morning at the opening of our markets. British pound went up 120 pips. Let's see, Japanese yen, there's usually a lot of fluctuation there, so that's not really anything to be concerned with. But okay, so the dollar CAD, the Canadian, the loonie, the Canadian dollar.
The loony.
It gained on us?
Yes, a whole lot. But we've been in sky-high territory against them for months. So we dropped down to $1.35 versus the Canadian dollar, but that was a 127 pip drop just in 3 hours.
Wow.
So this is something that it's usually relatively stable. Again, you only see 25 to 35 in a given day.
Right.
And so,
that was just a couple hours.
Yeah, I mean, this is some kind of shift that even a novice forex trader like myself can make money on. So,
man, that is nuts.
It's interesting to see the effect of this stuff. The Aussie dollar gained 81 pips on us.
Are you saying we should short the dollar?
Yes.
You should always short the dollar till the end of time. Short the dollar.
Yeah.
Not that I'm giving out financial advice.
Always fair. Yeah.
Can I actually be sued? Like every single time someone on a YouTube video says something about finance, and then they say
they're like,
this isn't financial advice. Like,
yeah, right.
How often does somebody get sued for not giving financial advice, but giving financial advice? Like,
I think it's only things that get in, like if you get in the way of the machine, and if you get enough, like during the whole like AMC thing that I talked to you about and stuff, like people were getting. Like they were really covering their bases when talking about that because they were going against
interesting
the flow of the cogs here. Yeah. So I think it would only really come about in those kind of ways. But
interesting. I do know, Steve, that like when was it? Was it like 6 months ago, 9 months ago? The dollar was like the strongest it's ever been against some of those other currencies.
The Canadian dollar, the Japanese yen. And so, the Japanese yen is the real one for concern because a lot of people talk about how much debt China holds, but in terms of actual dollar amount, Japan holds more of our debt than China.
What? Really?
Holy crap! How is that possible?
And we have been in levels for a while that the last time we got that strong against the Japanese yen, both countries put their heads together in the late 90s and manipulated their currencies to get it back down to another level.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things you see, and that's why I'm bringing up George Soros here. So, because you get this kind of volatility, that's when you get the super elite start monkeying with things.
Yeah.
When you get a certain level of volatility, that's when they can start throwing their weight around and actually making impactful swings. So, with the way all the banks are internationally linked now, it's much harder to do this because they talk to each other much quicker. But September 16th, 1992. It's known as Black Wednesday. This is when the whole world got pissed off because George Soros made $1.5 billion in a month.
My God.
Because he figured out that, what was it? The German Deutschmark was really strong against other currencies, especially European countries or currencies. So you got like the British pound. I think the Swiss franc was one of them. And what was it? I think this describes some of them too. because the euro wasn't a thing then.
No.
They were talking about it, but it wasn't a thing. So I think they'd already proposed it. It got shot down.
Really?
And so, anyways,
92. That's crazy. I didn't know.
Yeah, and so he almost single-handedly, it was him, like a couple of his hedge fund buddies, almost crashed the British pound. Like the entire monetary system of an industrialized Western nation almost crumbled, and it was because this guy. So the way the forex markets operate, they give you leverage. So a lot of the European forex market, or the American forex markets, if you get in them, they'll give you 50 leverage, 1 in 50. So you put in $2, you get to play around like you got 100, which is cool, but you can get yourself in a lot of trouble that way too.
Is the risk leveraged also? Like
yes.
If you lose money, yeah, right.
Yeah, when you lose money, you lose 50 times as much as well.
Yeah,
yeah. But then there's some European forex trading platforms that'll give you 100 times leverage. There's some African platforms that'll give you 100 times leverage, and I think that's what he was playing around with too, because he even got with some of these legislators and told them, "Hey, your currency is sitting a little too high against the German Deutschmark. They're real strong right now, and you're not." And they basically told him to piss off, and that's when he's like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to clear out the bank account and bet against this." And he really did. I mean, he did some damage. And of course, the internet wasn't really a strong thing back then. So it took the banks a while to catch up. So by the time they got all their reports mailed out and all that kind of stuff, they were like, holy crap, the British pound. Let's see if it says what he did, exactly how much damage he did. I wish I had that chart that I could bring up for you too. I mean, it was like it lost like 30% of value overnight.
Wow.
That is crazy.
How much capital did he put into his bet?
I mean, he would only have to put 2 or 3 billion. Because back in the 90s, you get the 50 times leverage on $2 billion. So that's like $100 billion. I mean, that's like 10% of GDP short in your own currency.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I was going to comment just in general. I didn't even honestly know about the whole 50 and 100x leveraging shit. That's crazy. But even before you factor that in, someone that's got billion with a B monies to throw around at stuff. This is when you get into the territory with like the hedge funds, like the Vanguards and the BlackRocks and the whatever of the world. When they decide to do a thing, if they put money into a thing or short a thing, they put so much in that you influence that market. Like if I bought $10 worth of some stock, it doesn't do a damn thing. It's a drop in the bucket. It doesn't matter. When they do something, if they want it to go up, if you buy enough, it'll go up. Like that's.
And then not only that, but if your company controls enough capital, guys like Warren Buffett, Jamie Dimon, we talked about this before. They can go on PMSNBC and talk about how Bitcoin is rat poison, run away from it.
Right.
And they sway enough public opinion with that.
Yes. Yeah. Or
that
like
people run away from Bitcoin.
Someone.
But while that's happening,
because
there was one time that I think Jamie Dimon did it in like 2015, 2016. It was right before one of the halvenings. And he went on TV and trashed it. Warren Buffett went and trashed it. They were going in unison. And so everybody that was paying attention to any financial news were just bombarded with articles and interview clips and don't do Bitcoin. And it dropped like 10 to 15%. But then when that happened,
they go buy it,
Warren Buffett and Chase Bank were the largest institutional buyers that week.
Yeah, when it dips, yeah. So this is where it's a conflict of interest kind of a thing based on what they say publicly. It's either you buy the dip or you have a short against something. If it's, I don't know if you can short Bitcoin, but if it's stocks or whatever. Can you short Bitcoin actually? Like, is there such a thing as a short market on crypto? But
I would say
think there's. Yeah. Is there really? Can you do that? Yeah. I don't even know about this, but
the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, they trade crypto futures.
Oh, okay, all right. So
it's very select, and then I think the London Exchange just picked it up. So you can short Bitcoin futures and things like that, but that doesn't actually.
The fact that
Bitcoin.
half our economy is based upon speculating on this crap is such garbage.
Yeah, right. Honestly, maybe even more. It's ridiculous how much of it is just psych games.
Yeah, it makes it to where exactly what you're saying. The most powerful and rich people can manipulate the things however they want to.
Yeah.
They can't do it every time, but when they see an opportunity, they can definitely screw over millions of people by saying 2 words on television.
Yeah.
Yes. and then
go pick up the pieces or go buy the property for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then when real lives are destroyed and everyone has to foreclose on their fucking homes, and then BlackRock goes, yeah, we'll buy those for half what they're going to be valued in 5 years or whatever,
BlackRock is buying dorm rooms now on college campuses.
God, wow.
Major universities. Yeah. So college students are about to be paying rent to BlackRock to be in student campus housing.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that.
While they go protest against capitalism. It's the useful idiots that Stalin talked about. It's and I hate to say that, but it's just they're naive. Some of them are smart, but some of them are willfully ignorant.
We should all be able to look back on when we were 17 and say we were naive. You know what I mean? If you aren't able to look back and say, I know more today than I did when I was 17, then you're doing something wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. And what's the saying? If you're not a liberal at 20, you have no heart. But if you're still a liberal at 40, you have no mind.
That's actually interesting. Yeah. I had people tell me, they were like, I promise you, when you get older, you'll lean away basically from, liberal sentiments. Some people thought that I was going to become a Republican, and that much is not true. Like I've pulled out of the sort of like,
I've seen
you're not in Tennessee yet.
Rallies.
That's true. That's fair. What'd you say, Jay?
So I've seen you at those Nazi rallies before. You're hidden well behind. You're hidden well behind the hood. But man, I could tell it was you.
Yeah, I just take the wig off and I'm full skinhead. Terrible. No.
All right. So I don't want to bog everybody down with the financial stuff here. So I don't want to ignore Angelo at first. So yeah, the Stossel interview. I think Jake. I think you played this a little bit last week.
Was that the one that you played the clip of?
Last week was hard, man. Last week I had even worse service than I do now. So
yeah, there we go. But that was So I've seen the Stossel interview, and so she is not of age to run for president in Guatemala. But what she's doing, what she's hoping for, is that she's going to gain enough popularity that they'll actually put her on the debate stage, or they'll let her moderate one of the interviews, or she'll at least get some press coverage as like just like a parallel campaign. And this is also proof that she's not in this for self-enrichment, because right now she's spending her own money going around doing this stuff, doing these tours, writing these books, trying to get the word out. And so far all she really has under her belt was she apprenticed for the Cato Institute for a while. She was one of the John Stossel fellows for a while, and then she's got that one video where she's got the Che Guevara patch and the Soviet hat. I think that got like 15 million views or something crazy. So she's got international notoriety. So she might.
How long until the CIA gets involved in the race down here?
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Are we sure they're not already involved?
Yeah, they use Dominion machines too, I believe.
What's that?
I said they also use Dominion machines.
Oh. Yeah, honestly. I mean, I always anytime I hear like if it becomes a household name, I just wonder like when is the CIA going to send in someone to just disrupt the whole thing and do whatever, but if that person, that name even is already, but I'm not saying that in this case, but
I mean, I love that she's like running it like a regular campaign, and it's to gain notoriety, it's to gain like spread her message and like get us, get what we stand for more in the public eye. It's kind of similar to a lot of libertarian campaigns that are actually running.
Yeah, right.
Where like
have a chance
we knew,
winning,
like we knew Shane Hazel wasn't going to win. He knew he wasn't going to win, but we campaigned like we sure as heck were, and like got our message out as loud and far as possible.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's similar to that, except this time, like what you said, Steve. Like the only motivation for her is the message, like because she's not making any money from this.
Some of it is like on the political spectrum of things, but like think about like real people and like who votes. And I think some of the problem is like we don't have enough exposure. And now speaking more about like our country, because I can't speak to the politics of like what is it, Guatemala or what I don't know, but in our country, I mean, we have such a red v blue type of a mindset for most people that I really think exposure is half the thing. And I was gonna so this is the broad problem, but I was going to talk about like Jake, that you had said that in living with your partner and how much just through like that direct exposure with you that she's changed how she thinks and feels on things politically quite a bit or whatever. A lot of that, if you think about, I think that's what needs to happen on a broader scale, and these types of things, these campaigns for people are having that effect, and the more people they reach, it's that organic like exposure to the concept and being like, oh yeah, actually, you know what, there's these two options that everyone thinks of, but I actually am learning that I think that this third option represents how I feel and believe better, and I think we just need more of that. And so the campaigns, even if you think you won't win in that one, it's not a loss, because there's an impact in the end, in the long run, of building more and more of an exposure to a third option.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, just look at Ron Paul. The Ron Paul revolution.
Yeah.
His phone banking campaign when he was running for president. Holy crap! Like it caused the Republican Party to split. It was that powerful that there was a caucus that planted itself called the Tea Party. That was an offshoot essentially of the Ron Paul movement.
Party. Yeah, that's so funny. I didn't realize it came with that.
Yeah, and it took the Republican Party on the national level like 3-4 years to figure out how to lead them astray and cut them off.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a big thing. I mean, that's the equivalent of goat farmers repelling the largest military on the planet.
Yeah, and like,
what's that?
Another thing, like
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Yeah, like the people who see libertarian campaigns as a loss or a failure are very short-sighted. From
the people that are like, remember this whole thing, like a vote for Nader is a vote for Bush. Do you remember that whole thing? Like,
oh yeah,
2000s. Like, not that was libertarian. I think that was Green Party or something, but still the third party.
Well, yeah, it's a like, short-sighted thing, especially for like it's people who cannot see into the future, who live only in the now, and cannot fathom that growth of an idea is
and
a victory.
Aren't willing to take that chance and that risk of trying to get it to change. Yeah. And then there's that like cultural sort of like, because I get flack sometimes because like I don't vote, red or blue or whatever, and then I can tell from my family that they're like, but like you're voting for Trump if you don't, and I'm like, fuck you. I don't know, like it's just like a thing that I'm just I get annoyed about it. And
well, so here's one thing, and Ryan Graham pointed this out when he was running for lieutenant governor this last time around. This was one of his best clapbacks I've heard in a long time. Was, hey guys, in the last election, you say, if you're not voting for this, you're voting for that. Need to remind you, none of the above gets way more than both of them in every election.
Yeah.
So this last presidential election, at least around here, where I'm from in Georgia, I think we had like a 42% turnout, and that was historic voter turnout. So 58% said screw both of y'all.
Oh, so not voting for neither, but by not voting.
Yeah, just sat on their hands or didn't show up, whatever. 58% said, I don't like either of y'all.
Because isn't there an option on the ballot for like a neither kind of a thing? Like
only in the Libertarian Party.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Only for Libertarian elections.
No but in Georgia, we can pencil in anything. You can always not vote for something, and I usually wind up penciling in ham sandwich. Somebody's running unopposed.
A
county coroner or something like that. There's no one else running against them. Just ham sandwich.
Yeah, ham on rye. Yeah.
Can you imagine if you had to get elected county coroner?
Well, how is that a partisan position? Yeah. In some places it is. Holy crap!
I don't want no dirty liberal fingers in my dead body. Like.
In what world is that? You really have to vote on coroner in some places?
That's wild. Shouldn't it be the person that went to school for coroning, if that's where?
Yeah. Well, then how do you campaign for that? People are dying for my services.
God, I want to work on a coroner campaign. That would just be the like one-liners that you could write for that is like so much fun. That'd be
and plumbers, like
Oh man. So, all right, Angelo thinks Chase Oliver did better than Shane Hazel, but so here's one thing that I want to point out to you though. Both of these guys got attention, got major attention, got enough to piss both parties off.
Yeah.
Yep.
With pennies on the dollar compared to what the other guys were fundraising.
That's always true, yeah.
You know, Chase Oliver was up against, I think, $1 billion machine. And I mean, the governor's race, much less than that, from what I understand. I think Kemp had to spend at least $200 million and do all kind of back deal favors.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the Kansas City
try to
Chiefs
bribe
versus
the public.
high school football or middle school football. Like,
yeah, but that was one of those interesting stats because I think Senator Warnock, he was spending almost $5 per vote, and Herschel Walker was spending somewhere like $2.50 to $3 per vote, and Chase spent, I think, 8 cents per vote.
I was going to say, is it even a penny? Like,
yeah. So
that's higher than I would have thought. 8 cents. Yeah.
Right. 100% of his voting base was organic and truly believed in him instead of just blindly going with one narrative or the other. Same thing with Shane Hazel. Both these guys had strong messages. They stayed true to principle, and they were beasts on the debate stage, both of them. I love how Shane exposed the Prussian model of education. And he was getting into the police brutality thing. And then Chase, it's the economy, stupid. He was just speaking real hard on fiscal numbers. And I think both of them creamed their opponents in my mind.
I like that in the culture of kind of like third party in general, we're able to look at different candidates and different people and be like, I like what they have to say about this. I like what this person has to say about that. I think they're better at this. But it's because we're not fully, I wonder if there will be a day, let me skip ahead to this, like where I will have to look somewhere else than the Libertarian Party. Like if the Libertarian Party gets like to be another cult, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm sort of kidding because I think it'll be a while, but because like I had to pull away from my side, I had to pull away more from a left-leaning orientation through my family and background because it got a little culty for me. Like, and it got a little where I'm like, well, okay, that doesn't need my voice to disseminate more of this, angle. And I wonder if one day the Libertarian Party will need a counter.
So that's already happened. Like every organization goes through like phases where they are not as principled or not like don't stand up for what they actually say they're standing up for. And Libertarian Party until last year, for about 8 to 10 years prior, had been that. It was a whole bunch of lip service to our principles, but not actually standing for anything. And so the Mises Caucus, which I'm a part of, and I don't know if Stephen is. I think Stephen is. But
well, yeah. I mean, I've read the planks. I got no problems with them.
We basically staged like a voting revolution within the party and took every single position in the party at national convention. We're not putting up with this anymore. We're going to go back to principles. We're not going to worry about all this identity politics BS that they were all about. We're not going to try to find common ground. Like Mike was saying last week, we're not going to try to find common ground with the politicians of the opposite parties.
No, I really thought that was an interesting stance to take of just being like, wait, no, that is don't feed into the problem of it. Be more principled and let people come through their own logic and rationale. Like,
and don't descend into the tribalism of I'm from this block or this neighborhood or I look like this or this is who I have sex with. Like, that really matters, man. Like, we've got the government trying to tell us what to do.
I don't want someone to vote for libertarians just by some weird culty identity thing. That's what makes libertarianism so good, is that it is so rooted in principle. But I didn't realize
I would never
a stage where it wasn't.
I would never vote straight ticket just libertarian just because.
No, I wouldn't either. Just down the line.
There are some Republicans that I'd still vote for. There's some Democrats that I'd still vote for if they're running against certain people. But it's all about who they're up against. But
that situational is part of it, and also what we were just talking about being able still to think for yourselves and to assess the situation and to look at individual, setups and who people are running against, like you said, and like what they stand for. And sometimes there's probably, I don't know many by name, but there's probably some libertarians that I don't agree with as collectively that much. But even that person might have one or two things that I agree with. I just don't know if I would want them in office. But
right. Absolutely.
That's why we have Noda. That's why we have Noda.
I agree with Angelo here on the debates. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the number of laws against third parties, it's crazy.
It's insane. The fact that we're not,
Well, and why don't we have fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh parties? You look at, we were talking about Germany earlier. I think they've got like 7 or 8 political parties, that's one of the fascinating ways that Angela Merkel's been able to stay in power, because she has to assuage like 4 major parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen, it's Angela. Okay, it's Angela Merkel.
Oh, excuse me.
Come on.
Yeah.
Correct pronunciation. Show some respect to it.
Welcome to America, Angela.
You got to show those tyrants some respect,
Yeah, there we go. So
I don't know much about her.
Here's something interesting.
Shithead.
I'm gonna see if I can zoom in, but I may not be able to. But anyways, I just wanted to point this out. So this is the website for Gloria Alvarez's alma mater, Universidad Francisco Marroquin. But Veritas,
such a great school.
Was that?
Such a great school.
There we go. So Veritas, Libertas, Justitia is their motto. Milton Friedman called this the best school in Latin America. Because keep in mind, was it the 80s that he was down there with the Chicago boys, teaching them how to get a hold of their inflation?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they did great. GDP went through the roof, and that was all stuff that caught Gloria's attention, because she was just old enough to see these guys talking that game and saw the difference it made in her town, and that kind of exposed her to that. And then later she goes to this college, and that's one of the things she was talking about. The Stossel interview was mentioned, and she was talking about. Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
So during her Stossel interview, it's about 30 minutes long, so I'm not really going to cue that up. But she was just talking about how they were forced to read Karl Marx, but then also read Ayn Rand. So one day they're reading Das Kapital, and then the next week they're reading The Fountainhead.
Yeah.
And so they actually got the full spectrum analysis to understand, which, by the way, it's worth pointing out that before Karl Marx was doing his writings, he invented the word capitalism. Capitalism was not in the vernacular before he came around.
That's interesting.
So, because he had to frame it as an opposition to his ideology. So he had to have a word for it.
A hero is only as good as its villain,
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go. And then, if we learn anything from Ender's Game, you have to become your villain to truly defeat them.
Or that's funny that you said the Ender's Game version. There's a similar thing of like,
which is why if you want to go see Marx's grave today, you got to pay $5 to get in.
Yeah. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Gloria didn't, according to one of the interviews I listened to with her, she didn't even know that school was all about liberty and like individual liberty and all that. She just thought it, because it's named after a priest who's famous throughout Guatemala or wherever, throughout South America. And but they used the priest's name in order to just have it be sound like a normal school. And so she only chose the school because it was where she wanted to, the town she wanted to be in. Mm-hmm. And so she chose that school, and it turns out her first few days, her professors tried to get her to really dig into capitalism, and she was like, absolutely not. And finally she came around, and she's got an interesting story. I like her a lot.
Oh yeah.
I love Alden drinking straight from the bottle. That's my favorite thing.
Oh man.
That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, there we go. Just going in.
Alcohol kills germs, There
we go.
Okay, Adam Smith invented capitalism. Was he using the word capitalism? Because it's my understanding that until Marxist ideology came about, that was not in the common vernacular. Adam Smith was just preaching the invisible hand.
I remember this. Yeah, I remember that. This reminds me of like, did the CIA invent the word conspiracy theory, or did they just like kind of like propagate it, promote it, to like fan the flames of the and keep it alive,
Well, I'm sure some folks were already throwing it around, but they're the ones that popularized it.
That's what I'm
because
saying.
that was right about the same time they were getting Operation Mockingbird up.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know if young Anderson Cooper was already an intern with the CIA, but
is that right?
That was about the he interned with them.
I would not be surprised at all.
It was either CIA or FBI. It was one of the intelligence agencies.
Doesn't even hardly matter. I would not be surprised.
Yeah,
there's so many people that in journalism. There's a famous, like, well, I say famous among people that are interested. Like, it's a well-known clip of someone getting interviewed. I don't think it was Alan Dulles or whatever, but it was like the head of the CIA at that time, and they were talking about like, do you have journalists, like, have you bribed them or paid them, or do you have them like on hire? And they're basically like kind of bumbling around the answer, but it basically spells out that even then they had journalists around the world that were in their pocket, and
that's not surprising.
No, not for us, not at all.
Yeah.
But this has been in the works for 50 to 75 years or more. Like, it's been this has been a huge project. Like,
oh yeah, but all the underpinnings of what's going on right now were being installed in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
So that was right about the time, we had Barry Goldwater, we had the JFK assassination, the Trilateral Commission got formed, and also the John Birch Society got started up.
Things that you really need to sway the public a certain way on their take on events. And so one whole side of it is the media and is journalism.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that was I don't know if you've ever read Behold a Pale Horse.
Oh yeah, we talked about
Bill Cooper.
This. Absolutely. Yeah. William Cooper, man. Yeah.
That was one of the stories, and of course, he mixes in BS with true stories, so you don't really know what's what. But he really did shared some classified information, in that book.
I wonder if some of it was to protect himself, or if some of it, we talked about this, where if some of it was, that's what was told to him, because this is a common thing, is that they'll be told half-truths and truths. And so
probably both, right? So to some degree, he probably was a limited hangout. But he even said, in his epilogue or prologue, one of them, that he mixed in some BS to insulate himself, but still didn't work because Bill Clinton still sent the goons after him.
Oh yeah, he ended up getting shot on his own.
Yeah, he got gunned down his own driveway.
Yeah. He got lured out of his house because they were playing loud music, acting like they were like teenagers on his property, and he drove over there, and that's when it all started. And then he tried to get back to his house. He was actually fleeing back to his house when they supposedly fired at him, and then he fired back and all that and whatever. But do you know he never paid taxes?
Really?
And for a little while they left him alone. But yeah.
Well, neither did Irwin Schiff, and he died in prison just a couple of years ago.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, he was actually resting his laurels on the statutes were illegitimate.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And he was winning in court, and the judge was just like, "I got to keep you in prison because if this gets out, the entire tax code is repealed."
Yes, exactly, and it makes an example of one person being on the principle of that it is unconstitutional. Yeah,
dude, I've already started like preparing a case to take to court about property taxes here in Montana.
Yes,
wow. I'm compiling an insane amount of information, data, precedents, like everything, because they're going to increase my property tax as soon as I build something on it, even though they don't provide road, they don't provide gas, they don't provide electricity, they don't provide water, they don't provide
your own power. Anything. That's right. Oh my god. Yeah.
They provide absolutely nothing for me, and they're going to make me pay thousands in property tax.
In how this goes. I want a full report on my desk, like play by play. I want to know how this goes.
It'll be in the headlines. Like it's gonna be big. I'm gonna make it big. Yeah. I'm gonna make video productions revolving around the case. Like it's gonna be a thing.
Oh my god, there's so many things I want to send you that you could cite. Do you know? I'm so bad at like pulling up information like on the fly, but do you know about the case where the guy argued about you might know this because it has to do with the whole like banking system thing. The guy in 2008 when they were gonna not repo. What's the? I just said the word earlier with the house, and they foreclosed on his house, and and so he made a case that the bank did not put up any risk or any capital, and he did when he signed the loan, but the bank didn't. And in their contract, it was supposed to be that each are risking something. But with the fractional reserve banking system, the bank basically just makes money out of nothing, and so there's no risk. It didn't come from capital that they already owned, and he won. And that's
genius.
Yes, and he's like, they did not front anything. There was no risk on their side. I should not have to have them take
He got
my house.
a judge to understand fractional reserve banking.
Yeah, wow, yeah. But he won, and so I don't know why this is pretty quiet, because I don't think people there are many entities that don't want this known, but this is it's once it passes in law, it usually is like the whole like Roe v. Wade or whatever. And I don't mean to make this about that, but just like anything like a case where it's like once passed, then it's been argued. And it's been legitimately established that the logic exists around a certain case. And this is one where the banks don't have any precedent to take your home in a foreclosure, because they don't put up any risk when not even close to equal that you do anyway.
I know what you're talking about. There's a guy that, and the website evades me right now, but he's one of the big ones pointing out that the mortgage database, MERS, that does the whole mortgage title insurance for the whole country. The holding company that owns them also owns the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh my God.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. I believe it.
Of course it does.
So don't think that you're also not being traded as an asset.
So Gregory Gnome, this is happening again. I don't know if it's not yellow fever this time, but it's some other disease that they're dropping mosquitoes on Florida and Georgia to see what happens. We're doing it again.
Yep.
Before you even said it, I was worried about Florida because, one, mosquitoes in Florida are kind of synonymous. Two, Florida is where they're trying to do this thing where they do the like fucking Jurassic Park level mutant like GMO mosquito thing where they introduce those into the environment where they basically can't breed or something like that. Why is this a good idea? This has never been a good idea. Like,
and that's like in the North Atlantic, that GMO salmon that was like crossbred with like a roach or something or a beetle.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say something that makes it so that, or no, I'm thinking of another thing where they take salmon DNA that has natural like antifreeze qualities and they give it to berries or something. But what were you saying? I'm so sorry.
No, this is a GMO salmon that's swimming in streams today. I don't know exactly what they spliced it with, but it's supposed to, get big faster, so it's more farmable, harvestable meat. But if it gets in the wild ecosystem, it's
for the farm salmon.
Yeah, it'll kill off natural salmon.
Yeah, it's
these people are morons.
They'll lay sterile eggs.
Bunch of idiots. Like, stop manipulating nature. It's insane. Stop trying to breed things with other weird things. Like, y'all are idiots. Stop doing this.
Well, selective crossbreeding is one thing, because that's how we have broccoli, right? Yeah, selectively crossbred cabbages. Broccoli wasn't a thing like 300 years ago.
Well, broccoli sucks, so screw that.
Everyone knows broccoli raw is where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's it's different. It's different to cross-pollinate something than to get in and genetically modify it with a fish or something. It's a whole different thing.
But the CRISPR
just
stuff.
Saying genetically modified fish is hilarious.
Yeah,
it just makes me think of gay fish with the South Park episode.
I was say South Park. That's right. Yeah. Oh my God, another South Park reference today.
Oh man. All right. Well, hey, let me bring this up to get back to the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
Sure.
Let's see if will it play audio. Can you guys hear that?
Segue. I can't hear it.
Can't hear it. Is it on mute? Is the thing on mute right there?
Let me see here.
Jake, do you have it wired directly? Is that how you do it, or how do you?
So the only way to share audio is through a tab, not through a screen. Just FYI.
Through a tab.
It's on a browser tab.
If you go share, that I can see the other tabs. So you have to get to the point where it's only like there's an option when you say share, and that secondary screen pops up. It'll have a little checkbox in the bottom left-hand corner that says share audio as well. So I would just take this off the screen and try to reshare. And me and Alden can continue to talk about how stupid genetically modified things are.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can figure this out.
Yeah, it just makes no sense. It's just so dumb to do that. I don't understand it.
Average person that they're like, wait, like before we know everything about that, what if we like erred on the side of caution and just like don't? And then like who is in charge of being like superseding everyone else's common sense and be like, no, we're gonna put mutant mosquitoes into the fucking environment, just release them into the wild. Like what? Who decides this?
Dude, it's just nuts. It's like, why don't we take this thing that everyone hates, modify it, and then release more of them?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's so like you're there's no way you're gonna beat nature. Like nature will destroy you. Stop it.
We've got
they should do a trans fish episode.
Trans fish. Jeff Goldblum, man. I mean, he said it. Nature, life finds a way, man. Like we don't fight it.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to the like sci-fi, sci-fi movies where like they'll make a sci-fi movie with awesome stuff in it, gadgets and stuff, and then like 50 years later, we have a version of those. It's like we made Jurassic Park. You saw how this ended.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
It's the Dumb and Dumber thing where he's like, he does the whole prank on Seabass to get him to wave his hand, to get him to buy the check. And then down the road, they're like, what happened? They got away scot-free? He's like, no, they caught up to him a mile down the road and slit their throats. It was a good one. It's that. We're doing that. Where it's like, we should have got the message, but it's not working.
That's such a good reference.
I'm just going to do movie references every week now. It's like, last one was The Lord of the Rings. This one's Dumb and Dumber. Like,
dude, I love it. I'm totally on board with that.
One of my...
Figure it out, Steve?
Yeah,
I don't think so, because there's not a microphone shown on top of this tab. So there's still some good stuff in the article. I can come over that.
Okay, yeah, do that.
Yeah. So here we go. So we got... So U.S. House passed the Fiscal Responsibility Act, raises the debt ceiling at least $4 trillion, retains the bulk of new IRS compliance agents sought by Democrats, and claws back a meager spoonful of a bloated $4 trillion in excess COVID-19 funds.
Trillion with a T is such a scary, like my insides curdle. I don't even understand how bad the number is big. Like, that's crazy.
No one, you can't understand it. And that's why people don't even focus on it, because like that number is unfathomable.
I can't, there's that many cells in my body. I don't know how many that is. Like,
that's why you can't talk to people about this. When you're like, well, the U.S. is in debt $31 trillion. They're like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do about it? Like that number means absolutely nothing to anybody.
I always think about this in terms of like, what if we were in a village of 30 people and someone was trying to pitch you the type of the whatever equivalent absurdity our government tries to pitch to us? Those 30 people would be like, go fuck yourself. There's no way that this would work. If we all lived in small communities, none of this would work. They would get kicked off the island. I don't get it. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Diffusion of responsibility, diffusion of all sorts of stuff, man. Like the larger a country gets, the worse it gets.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just insane. Scale is a huge problem in this.
Yeah. So here's the interesting fact. This passed the House 314 to 117.
Holy
unanimous.
Crap.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there was 46 Democrats that voted no because they thought it didn't spend enough.
Wait, what? No, that's not real.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
So the people who voted no weren't the ones against it. They were saying it's not doing enough.
Yeah. So after the bill passed, there was one guy that broke his silence. What? Now we're allowed to say it. We rolled them. Talking about, this is a Democrat rep talking about the Republicans.
What is happening?
Yeah.
So they just wanted to get one over on the Republicans. That's great. That's great. That's God.
It's
freaking theater. It's a sporting event.
Out of spite, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I don't know if that's always going to happen, Angelo. That might not happen very much further into the future. So, yeah.
We were talking about Social Security before, and that like I have such little faith in it at this point that I'm not. I've not. It's not even been on the calendar for my life. Like it's not a factor in my comfort in my retirement at all. And I'm not saying that you don't deserve it, and that you worked for it and it was promised to you. I'm just saying I don't trust that it'll be there, and so I have not done anything in my life to get that like really going.
Oh no, me neither. I that's why I'm a 1099. Like I don't do any of that crap. Like I
that's
barely,
what I'll be here.
I pay as few taxes as possible. I claim everything. Like,
dude, I have debated paying no taxes, but here's the thing: I live with my girlfriend Haley, and I don't want there to be knocks on the door. You know what I mean? Like I have a certain responsibility to her.
Yeah, that's fair. One of my friends hasn't paid taxes in 5 years.
Yeah.
And has not been contacted once.
Okay. All
and
right.
she makes a decent amount of money.
I was gonna ask that next in terms of not like to price.
And she lives in New York.
Of all places. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
It's very interesting.
Thickens. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
right,
I guess one reason she hasn't been contacted might be that there's too many people in New York.
That are also probably doing it, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, though, I have legitimately, because like I'm trying to do like a lot of like my own business kind of thing, and it's like it's one thing when it's like taken out of your check, and you're like, well, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. But when you're the one that has to like pay it out of your account, you're like, what if I just didn't? And honestly, in the spirit of William Cooper, I have thought about it many, many, many days that not to do it, or to give like $12, what I think I should give,
Well, dude, generally speaking, as a 1099, me and Nikki end up either getting money back or paying next to nothing.
Okay, well then
every single year.
That's the stage that I'll go into next, and hopefully
keep all your receipts, because otherwise it's very tough to claim things.
Yeah, no, I was keeping all of my receipts, and then recently I'm just like, I can't keep any more receipts.
I need to start being an adult and try it, because I never do. They just end up in the bottom of some grocery bag, and I don't know, but
receipts. I mean, talk about a thing of the past. Like the IRS needs to see your freaking receipts. Just go look at my statement and see what I got, you idiot.
Doesn't everyone, like, if I can find it, can't you find it? Like, doesn't everyone know? Like, honestly.
Yeah, like why do I need to show a receipt for $76 worth of gas?
What was the Patriot Act
if it's from Exxon, obviously it's freaking gasoline.
It wasn't $60 worth of M&Ms, like God.
So this is interesting because we're talking about Guatemala, and Grumpy brought up, the mosquitoes. This is something that always comes to my mind, and people are like, "No, this didn't actually happen." I watched it on TV. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton apologized for syphilis experiments in Guatemala.
Oh my God.
Now, of course, officially this was from 1946 to 1948. But, we know it went on a whole lot longer.
As soon as we cancel the program, they're officially gone and done. We've never dabbled in it.
Yeah. So, after Tuskegee, after that got rolled back, they were like, well, now we have all these tainted medicines. Where are they going to go? Yeah. Well, the same place the false World Series championships T-shirts go. Some of them go to Central America, some of them go to Africa.
That is so unfortunate, but such a good analogy. Oh my God, that is amazing. Or if it's in the case of where did all the stockpiles of biological warfare weapons that we have, where do they go? And it's like, oh, sprayed on our food. They turned into basically pesticide. Like that's fun. Like,
so that's domestic. Have you looked into biosludge?
No, not specifically. What is this?
So, all right, municipal waste, right? So municipal wastewater.
Yeah.
So the sewer. These plants, they take in the gray water. And they filter out the doo-doo. They filter out some of the medications. A lot of the hormones still make it back in.
That's a hard one to filter.
And then they make it clear and somewhat tasteless, and they call it drinking water.
Wow. Yeah.
That's how municipal water works.
Yeah.
But then they have these solids. other countries burn this stuff,
Uh-huh.
and then they use that burned, the burned solids for energy
Uh-huh.
or whatever. And then after that, it turns into an ash that has no other, chemical residue in it. So it is basically just carbon and nitrogen.
I was going to say
And
nitrogen fertilizer.
That's legit fertilizer. We're not burning ours. So New York City puts it on a train, and it goes to Mobile, Alabama, and often the trains derail.
Oh, God.
And it's just a trainload of human waste in the middle of a soybean field.
Skid Row.
Yeah.
That's bad.
And
Can you imagine living on that farm and having that train derail on your farm?
well, your crop yield would go through the roof that year. Smells like money to me.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. You're working in a hazmat suit for the next 9 months. Though.
But then you ask the guy, "Do you eat your own soybeans?" And not really.
No, it's like, do you fish out of that pond by the highway? And you're like, no. This is when it comes to burning things. This is where some places burn some things, and like we have a lot of regulations on what we burn. Some things aren't as bad as others. But like burning garbage is like, I think everyone can agree is a bad idea because you're burning plastics and things like that, and that's like a whole different thing.
Good luck telling the people out in the sticks of Montana that.
Well, so interesting on that one, but even just like on a whole, like a national level, like process here, not just like people in the woods, but like most, like 90% or some crazy number of our recycled plastics don't get recycled. It's like 90 or 95 or something.
Oh, it's an insane
so
amount.
much of it. It gets boated over to China, where it's like some, it's like, they're gonna.
Oh, and they just drop it in the ocean. That's why we have a Texas-sized trash island in the Pacific.
They bury it, drop it.
I'm gonna move there.
Burn it, whatever, and like. But as long as we're not the ones doing it, we have that blind eye thing where we're like, we sold it to China, or we paid China to take whatever the thing is, and then they burn it. So it's like, well, if the same thing, if we know what's happening with it, why are we doing it anyway?
Yeah,
I wonder how floatable that trash island is, because like that might be a legit place to go move to at some point in time.
Like water, like Kevin Costner Waterworld, like on like trash island. Oh my God, it's perfect.
There you go.
That's a pretty fun
turf on top of it.
I've got
that's a South Park
Steven.
episode.
Well, so I had an idea. It would solve the border crisis. So we just dig a big trench along the Mexican border instead of building a wall. We just dig a hole, say 15 feet deep, 20 feet wide, whatever be necessary. Put all the trash there and set it on fire.
Jesus.
And if you cross a big river of trash to get here, welcome home, brother.
Yeah, honestly, you know what? Yeah, we got a spot for you. Yeah.
Alden, what was your question?
Oh, so I was curious, either of you really, but I know that Steven, we've kind of dabbled in this a little bit with like 9/11 related material here. But do you know about like how fast we sent off all the scrap steel from the rubble pile to China on barges, like after the event? Are you aware of this? Like how much
it was within weeks, right?
It was within it was as soon as it was humanly like cool enough to handle. It was like 5 fucking days or something that they piled this up and sent it to China or whatever, which is we are saying it's a crime scene. That's what everyone is saying. It's a terrorist level crime scene, and we're gonna send the evidence to China to melt down. That's what we did with it. Yeah.
And one of the guys that trained the pilots is golfing buddies with George Bush.
Yeah, and then George Bush's brother was the guy that headed Securicom or Americom or whatever the hell the name of the security company that was in charge of the towers.
But y'all, it's not that they're corrupt. It's that the terrorists had that good connections that they wanted the best. They're one of the best teachers. the best pilot school.
Yeah, there you go. 3 weeks of flight school, and you can take a 747 in a downward corkscrew.
Yeah, and then ride this close to the ground to hit the Pentagon, where there's not even enough air to draft to do it. It's physically not possible. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. And then how do you make the plane actually look like a missile in the security footage?
Do you know that people?
That's some David Copperfield stuff.
people said so. There was multiple people that were on the ground that were like getting reported or interviewed or whatever that were like, hey, it looked more like, a missile or whatever. And then they would be like, it would go black and they would be like, oh, we lost him. If they started talking about a missile, they would be like, oh, we lost him. This is stuff that I saw when it was happening. And I found footage of it or whatever later that I'll bring up whenever we do our big 9/11 thing.
We're doing it. It's going to be awesome.
It cut out every time they were someone was saying it looked like a small plane or a missile. It would cut out. Then they would have these people that would describe this big. It was like they were like, I saw the logo on the side. It was a United Airlines. It was going by apparently 600 miles an hour, but I saw the logo. And those are people that I think are paid fucking actors that were there. And they, of course, it doesn't cut out. The footage doesn't cut out on these fucking people. Anyway.
It's so easy to pay people to do that.
Oh,
it's so easy to pay people to do that.
To pay a young FBI agent to act like they're a bystander, like that's never happened. Yeah.
Okay, I think maybe this week, the three of us and I guess Zach, Zane, and Nick can look at our schedules and see what we got going on the rest of the summer. I know Alden's a little bit up in the air, but it would be nice to have a date that we're like, okay, we can plan for this date and all meet up, in Atlanta or wherever. And we can either do it in person or we can do it virtually, but it's going to be a freaking production and we're going to stage it and it's going to be phenomenal.
Oh, it's going to be a thing. I'm bringing whiskey. We're going to be there a while. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It probably will not be live. It will probably be pre-recorded. And then we will.
So we can edit some things.
That might make sense.
Not necessarily edit things out. Just make it a little bit less chaotic because I know it's going to be chaotic.
You might need to edit me out a lot.
Oh my gosh, Red Vex wants it in front of a live crowd. That can't happen because we're going to be talking for. I mean, it's got to be. We're going to be talking for like 8 hours about this thing.
Oh man, I can talk for 24 hours about 9/11. Like
it'll probably end up being multiple episodes. Like it'll probably be like a 4-part series.
It could, yeah. Honestly, we could do the events that lead up to it, the morning of, the events after. You know what I mean? Like even just in the timeline of things, like there is so much things. Just funny business going on, like the stock market or like reports on the Pentagon and missing money and beforehand, even before it even happened, the military doing exercises on exactly what the hijacking of planes flying to the New York the day of.
Was it Northwoods?
Is that what it was called? I think you're right, actually. Yeah, the name of
Operation Northwoods.
Yeah, that was literally a military. By the way, just PSA, full PSA for anyone listening. If there's a military operation, a practice operation planned for your town, get the fuck out of there because that thing is gonna fucking happen in your town. Jesus. Yeah. Or if they make a movie about it
here in Atlanta, when the 400 bridge caught on fire just outside of Butthead. They were running terrorist drills of. Because there was some stuff on some scanner traffic about like a guy stole some red mercury or something like that, which is
red mercury.
Yep.
Yeah, the government won't even confirm that exists. Yeah, it's supposedly
this is like mythos level Nazi technology.
I mean, this stuff was on the police scanner because the nuclear regulatory headquarters is in Atlanta, Georgia.
That's super weird. I've not heard red mercury in a while.
Right. And that was on some police scanner stuff that guy was doing that. And he got on the 400 bridge. And then 30 minutes later, holy crap, the 400 bridge is on fire.
Okay, I have to go through my notes now, but I think red mercury was one of the things that I've heard that the Nazis were studying the effects of with like weird, like superheated plasma red mercury shit in rotation with like UFO technology weird shit or something like
yeah the Nazi bell
exactly yeah okay so I was like that's the last time I heard anything about red mercury was like
because that's how they set up their base in Antarctica, right?
Yes, yeah, like when what is it, not Andrew Bird, that's a musician, Admiral Byrd was the flying over and I don't know how real this is, but like in his reports, he, in his, journal or whatever, he's like seen like weird saucers or bells flying around or something like
Operation
that.
High Jump.
High Jump, yeah, for sure. Steven, you know your shit, yeah. You know your mythical conspiracy lore, man. I'm into it. I want to hang out with you and have a beer in person, man. That'll be super fun.
I mean, this is really me on an average Friday night. So that's why.
Dude, me too, yeah.
I'm really giving my wife and friends a break doing the show.
That's what I was just going to say, is that we talked about how we're giving our girlfriends and wives like a break here, like having another outlet, yeah. My girl here is hopefully less lately, but too much, like by her standards, like, man, I can just get on a winded rant, and I am sorry for listening. It's part of who I am, apparently. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Your video cracked up a little bit.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Okay, so
Cop City protesters.
Yeah. So apparently, and this is from earlier. Sorry, I'm just now getting around to it, but apparently Georgia's cracking down on the Cop City protesters, making certain misdemeanors felonies and non-bondable offenses.
Wow.
I don't think it's signed into law yet.
What
Holy
misdemeanors?
crap.
That's insane.
So there we go. And this is how they start to get one over on you too.
This is where I like the libertarian thing of like, on principle, even if you don't like the person that is being used against right now or something, on principle, it's a bad idea. Like, because if you extrapolate out on principle, then it can be applied in XYZ ways. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to be careful that, and this is the Hegelian dialectic all over again. This ties back into how we were talking about, the early French politics and their culture of protest and things like that. The Hegelian dialectic is problem, reaction, solution. You manufacture the problem.
I was going to say create problem. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you manufacture the problem to generate a reaction amongst the populace, and then you come in with the solution, which is what you wanted to do all along.
Yes, of course. It was devised. The whole problem was devised. I have such a nose for this. Like, I can't help but see reality based on this now. Yeah. 9/11 was one. I mean, we don't need to go back into it again. But
that gave birth to DHS.
Yeah. And TSA and the Patriot Act was like 6 fucking days later. They had this 300-page document ready to go. Are you fucking high? Like,
yeah, there you go. And then they vote on it an hour later. There's no way anybody read this kind of stuff.
And then everyone agrees on it, red and blue, right and left. And then I am never more suspicious in this country than when people agree. I call me crazy, but when we agree on something, it's bad. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So here we go. This would be one to check out. I haven't looked into this yet. I'm glad. Comments are great tonight. So most of these leftist protesters come from very well-to-do families, and I'll go a step farther and I'll say a lot of them are politically connected as well.
I'll bet. Yeah.
I guess once you attain a certain level of wealth, I guess you are just connected by proxy, anyways.
Or, you sold a few records and now you're going to run for president. Yeah. Oh, I'm kidding. But no, I'm going to look into this. That's interesting.
Yeah. So apparently, there's a judge that's been streaming this stuff, and that's one of the things I've been getting into because there's a lot of libertarians out there protesting this, and they're standing on merits. They're out there, on principle. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I've been pointing out all along, and if this actually gets dismantled, it's going to be over environmental concerns. It's not going to be a referendum on, do we need this show of force? Do we need this kind of training?
See, that's interesting in its own right too, and like how we've been going with that has been troubling in all kinds of ways, but because I don't want to establish too much of a precedent there that people just culturally just lean on without having to think any more on it, because
it's a lose-lose. It's a lose-lose because either you get Cop City, or you stop it from happening because of environmental arguments that you don't want to be making, because then they're going to be used against you in the future.
Yes.
We're screwed either way.
Yes, I agree. You're set up to fail.
I'd rather let's just screw over the environment. Let's just do that.
There we go. Let's repeal the Clean Water Act, which, nobody wants to campaign on that, but you got to freaking do it, man.
Wait a minute.
Everybody wants clean water. That's not really a thing. The Republicans just want dirty air and water.
Everyone wants dirty water. Yeah, give me that brown water. I was going to go pee, but now I have to say something because I was just watching. I'm running through the whole, start to finish of Parks and Rec again with my girlfriend, right? And there's a few episodes, every season, that are triggering as fuck in that. It's hilarious and well written, and then there's these propaganda episodes that are seated in there that are bullshit. And one of them,
which show?
Parks and Recreation.
Oh, yes.
And so
one of them's the fluoride one.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. We just got to that one, and I was losing my shit. I was pacing around, and I don't know if I can watch this. It was so bad. It was horrendous from the start.
Dude,
and then they start the episode with the whole Colts team. So you have, for no reason, it's not related to the episode and story, but you have Andrew Luck and Reggie Wayne and the rest of the Colts at the time, to start the episode. So you have this celebrity factor. Then you have Jam, what's his name? Jeremy Jam, who, by the way, is hilarious, and I love him as a character. But he's a dumbass, and no one likes him. He's portrayed as the villain. He's hilarious, but he's not likable. And he's he is the one that's hey, we should do this clean where water should just be water, but in a satirical way. And it's no, water should be water. What are you talking about? And then they go into the whole thing. Go ahead.
No, then they talk about how they literally on the show are calling anybody who doesn't think fluoride should be in the water an idiot.
Yes. I in this episode especially, I learned that Pawnee, the city, is a character, and Pawnee, the city, is cast in a certain way of behind the times and doesn't know what's right and is under informed.
Can't take care of itself.
Yes, exactly. It's the fat child of the United States, that no one, just not autonomous and not educated and not well to do and whatever.
Jackson, Mississippi, is that?
Yeah, basically. It's basically the same thing. Yeah.
Flint, Michigan.
With the water problems. Yeah.
Flint, Michigan. Oh my God. Yeah. And so, but they cast this whole thing and they use the characters that they have already to be the hero and not, and then they pitch the side of science and logic to putting fluoride in the water, which is got 8 things here, but one. On principle, don't put anything in the water. Don't
force medication, right?
Yes, against someone's will. That's number 1. Number 2, we could get into a whole thing on fluoride. And Stephen, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
and at least, and probably Jake too. I just know that Stephen has sent us some stuff on it or whatever.
Oh, I've been on the phone with Eric Brockovich about this.
Yeah. For every one study pro fluoride, there's 90 that are no, fluoride in too high a quantity is a fucking neurotoxin, and it is a horrible thing. Yep. There's cases where they go into different tribal communities where they introduce fluoride in the water and the tooth decay before and after, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, all of a sudden babies have Down syndrome, all kind of stuff.
Pick a thing. It's so
crazy.
bad. IQ levels. I know, Stephen, you've talked about that with IQ levels and things. We could get into a whole woo thing with the pineal gland, and that's a whole other thing. But
dude, anyway, it's nuts. No, you're it's crazy that I forget what the percentage is, but at one point, when the government really started getting involved in Hollywood, and they're a part of, I think,
it used to be
percentage. The church. Well, yeah, but now it's the government.
It used to be the church, and now it's the government. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the percentage is 65% of productions have some type of government advice.
CIA or government.
A lot of it is CIA. It's a bunch of stuff that they're trying to push it, and so doing that with a show like Parks and Rec, which is hands down hysterical.
Oh no, it's
such a
funny
show.
It's hilarious. It's one of the best shows. That's what makes it attractive and that draws the attention. Yes, it has the biggest appeal.
But that it honestly might be one of the biggest propaganda shows there is, because their goal with
government heavy. Their
goal with it was a love song to politics.
Yes,
and government.
Just like the Colbert Report.
Yeah.
You know what? That's funny too because they have
because he got started on the Daily Show. This is before Jon Stewart. It was Craig Kilborn.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of like a moderate view when Craig Kilborn was doing it.
It was like a satire of government that became pro-government. Like, yeah, exactly. It's like the Ron Swanson story where like Ron Swanson's set up as the libertarian, you know, and then, but eventually he's cast as someone that's like too extreme and is like made fun of more,
but
in a lovable way.
But
he drinks lager.
He ends up caving. He ends up caving on all of his principles and takes a freaking government job in the last episode.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too.
Like,
is that
takes a full-time government, like he's working for the government, trying to bring it down, and then he finally takes a government job that he enjoys and is helping the government. It's like the hero of that show is Andy.
I agree. I love
Andy. Andy's the hero. He's the only one who ever sticks to his principles.
Yeah.
Like, sticks to his principles 100% of the time. Everybody else betrays everything that they believe in at some point in time or repeatedly.
Or thematically. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
So Swanson taking a government job. That's like, did you ever see it was a movie from the early 90s, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
No, what is this?
I never
it was
saw that.
Awesome. Had Chris Rock in it. I mean, this was early 90s stuff. So it's like a fake gangster movie. So I think it's in like Oakland, California. I forget where it's based, but it's like a ghetto type scenario. And Larry Pinckney's in it, the leader of the Black Panther Party, so they were doing like a Black Panther march. And of course, it's funny as hell because all the gangsters are dying of OG, over gold. They have too many gold chains, like their body's covered in gold chains, and you can't even go to the bathroom and you just die. They're showing them pictures. He died of OG. They're like, how does he go to the bathroom with all that on? Oh my God.
That's so funny.
So the guy with the Black Panthers, he was like, man, we had 10,000 strong. We marched down here. We're going to take over the government building. We're going to tell them to quit oppressing us. And then they came out with job applications. Now all my brothers and sisters are in cubicles.
I wrote down this movie and the show that Angela said here, and I need to take a pee break.
It's an interesting one. Nice. Yeah, that's an interesting show. I definitely want to check that out. It's
a movie from, I think it was like 1992. Came out about the same time New Jack City came out. That was another old Chris Rock movie from back in the day.
A little before my time. A little before your time. How are you watching that when you're 5 years old? Weirdo.
I have an older brother.
I was about to say we're basically the same age. I've never seen those movies because I was 5 and I was super sheltered Christian kid. So
there you go.
I didn't listen to non-Christian music until 9th grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The second CD I ever bought. So the first one I ever bought was the Lion King soundtrack, and then the second CD I ever bought that I bought with turtle stamps was The Great Southern Trendkill by Pantera.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's a leap.
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
I was 8.
My whole childhood was like Michael W. Smith, the Newsboys, Stephen Curtis Chapman, like all these Christian artists. I still have all their CDs. It's great.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. Nice. Man, I do not like doing this on a phone, by the way. This is just garbage. Like, the screen is tiny. You're about that big on this.
Well, you got good resolution. So here we go. I'll bring something else up. This is something we've been talking about for a couple of weeks.
Sweet.
Rick Ross and his car show. I think that's coming up this weekend. Fayette County Zoning Department has said don't do it, and he says screw you. And I'm moving forward with it, and they're like, don't do it. And he's like, well, I'm going to run for mayor. And just a heads up, he does not live in the city limits. He cannot run for mayor.
I bet he could buy a house there and run for mayor.
He could, or he could run for county manager, which is actually up for vote sometime soon, which, that's one of the guys that was telling him no. But anyways, so this truck is coming in here to start getting things set up for the festival. And the butthead knocks the power lines out. So everybody in the surrounding neighborhoods already don't like the guy. and because his buffalo got out just a month ago, and now he's knocking out their power.
Come on, man! If you're gonna there was a saying, I forget who said it, but it's "Don't break the law while you're breaking the law."
Yeah.
And I remember them saying that in the movie Molly's Game, where she's running an underground poker game, but she's not taking a cut, so it's not technically illegal. But then her lawyer advises her, do not have anything illegal going on at your not technically illegal poker game. So it's like, don't do anything bad when you're doing something bad. And so the fact that he is trying to do this car show, but he also let his buffaloes out and knocked out the power for a bunch of people, just stop, just give up, end the car show, forget it, man.
Right. But instead he's doubling down. He's doing videos on social media talking about, well, you got to pay attention to the financial literacy of the neighborhoods, man. And I'm not sure he's fully aware of what that means, or if he just means to use a different word. I don't know. But he's talking about doing a dog show, doing a pickleball tournament, doing an RC car show. Yeah, I mean he's doubling and tripling down. And this article right here is just proof. If you mess with the boss, it's lights out. So
that's so funny. Well, yeah. Robert says 3 felonies in a day, or 3 felonies.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Yeah. At some point, if you're pissing off that many people, let's take a breath. Yeah. I don't really care about pissing off the government, but pissing off your neighbors. Just take a breath. Maybe don't do the thing you're doing, or maybe hire competent people who won't knock down a power line.
There you go. Yeah. What's wrong with that? I mean, because he's got there's a big middle school directly across the street from his compound. It's Our Lady Mercy. It's a Catholic school. The traffic concerns, anytime they have a football game or any kind of major event, they would draw a similar level of traffic.
Yeah, I bet.
So it's not like the surrounding areas is all of a sudden just getting drowned in traffic.
No, absolutely not.
That intersection right there at highways, was it 279 and 138? It's a freaking nightmare anyways, especially during rush hour. I mean, because it's right where Fulton, Clayton, and Fayette all come together.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those areas.
Gotcha. Yeah. I know nothing about your neck of the woods other than there are some studios down there.
There you go.
That my wife works at every now and then.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever hang out in Trilith, we can go to Barley Garden. We can go to the top floor of the Barley Garden there, and they have Budvar on tap, or Czech.
I don't know what that is. What is
the
that?
original Budweiser.
Oh, so the Budweiser we can still drink.
Yeah. It's the old European brewery that Anheuser-Busch pays money to regularly, so they can still use the name Budweiser.
Oh wow!
Wow, interesting.
Because they were like, "Oh, Budvar is 400 years old, homie. You owe me money."
Wow, so interesting.
Yeah,
I think the oldest brewery in the U.S. is Yingling.
That's what they advertise. I'm sure there's smaller ones. Because Jake did a good sit down with the multi brewer, and he was just talking about, back in the day, there was we have just now started approaching the levels of the number of breweries in this country that there were before Prohibition.
What? No way. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh
yep. He said we just got to the point where the number of breweries equal the number of breweries we had before Prohibition. That's how long it took to build the whole thing back up.
Oh,
100 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
This is why
Robert says oldest major brewery.
Okay,
there we go.
So not a microbrewery then. Okay.
That's what we drank in college, Alden.
I know. That's why I said that.
I had that recently. I hate it.
I haven't had it in 6 years, so I don't know.
It's a college beer. Let's just say that.
It tastes like caramel water.
Well, it's a Star Wars beer because Anakin killed them on the regular, right?
Wait, what? Yingling?
Younglings.
Oh,
yeah.
I was very much
okay.
lost on that one.
I don't. Sadly, I don't have I don't have a label for fed on the upper left corner, so I can't get you up there.
Yeah.
Because normally, wait, here we go. There we go.
Bang.
See ya.
Yeah.
Got him.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
I mean,
wish I could do it where it would mute you too. Like it mutes you as soon as it does the Fed logo.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, talking about old breweries, there's one in Germany that's been operating for, I think, close to 600 years, right at 600 years.
What's the
Gaffel.
name of it? Yeah.
Gaffel.
Okay.
It's in Cologne, Germany.
Yep.
And a couple of years, I almost crapped my pants when I saw this article too, because they make a phenomenal Kolsch.
I was gonna say if it's in Cologne, it's probably Kolsch then. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they make a great Kolsch. Oh my God, that's what got me introduced to the style. And it's really hard to find where I'm at. So
have you made
they
one?
found there was a bomb, like Cold War, World War II era bomb that was like 2 feet underground. I guess somebody was developing something just a block away, and they uncovered this thing, and it was undetonated. And they were like, if this goes off, this was designed to destroy the brewery, to demoralize the city.
Oh, wow.
And it just barely missed its target, and it still didn't go, like, so they had to, carefully decommission this bomb. And I'm like, oh God, please keep the brewery. Their culture is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. That would be so nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like, gosh, that'd be terrible.
Technically,
Man.
any Kolsch that comes out of any place not Cologne is not a Kolsch. It's a Kolsch style ale because
it's like bourbon.
Has.
It's like bourbon has to be from Kentucky, and when it's not, it's fake bourbon.
Does it actually literally have to be from Kentucky? I thought it just had to be American
If you're a
oak
purist,
barrels.
yes.
Okay. Because I thought it was 51% corn, American oak barrels, charred once.
No, it's got to be Kentucky, man. If it's not from Kentucky, I don't consider it bourbon.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, some people would, but they're pagans.
Well, and that's just like tequila. If it's not actually distilled in a certain region of Mexico, it's just milagro.
Yeah. Milagro is
that.
pretty good, actually.
Yeah. What's the champagne that's like that people used to rap about in rap songs?
Any champagne.
Cristal.
Ace of Spades. Huh?
I was talking about Cristal.
Oh, Cristal. Yeah. There we go.
No national beers. Every town has a brewery or two. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, in Germany.
In Germany.
And Germany also gave birth to the Reinheitsgebot, or the RHGB. The purity laws for beer. There's 4 ingredients that are essential for beer to be made. You got the barley, the hops, the yeast, and the water.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's right. Yeast is an ingredient. I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, gluten.
I guess that's fair.
Dude, one of the best places I've ever been was a place called a beer spa. Have you been to a beer spa?
No.
I went to one in Budapest, but they have one in the Czech Republic. Dude, Steve, I was thinking about opening one here in the United States, and so maybe you and I should partner on this.
Yeah.
Basically, what it is you walk into, it looks like a spa, like it looks like a spa facility. And so they have private rooms with different, like hot tubs, basically. And you can fit 1 or 2 people in the hot tubs. And you can open up partitions so you can have like a group of like 10 people. But you start by sampling all the 4 ingredients, and you actually taste like the raw ingredients. And then they pour all that raw ingredients into the water, stirred around, and you get into the hot tub with all the ingredients. It's supposed to be super good for your skin, super good for a lot of other things. And
so you become the beer.
Yeah, you become beer, and then there's a tap right next to it. And while you're in there, you have like 45 minutes to an hour or something like that. You can have as much of the beer as you could possibly want. And so we were like, they said, pour it on your head, like wash your hair with it, like do all. Like, so we were like, I drank probably 8 beers in that hour and poured like 6 on my head. It was incredible.
Oh man,
this takes shower beer to like a whole new level. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I've seen one of those. There's a show called Booze Traveler.
Okay.
It's on the Travel Channel. And
I know that. I know that show.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
So the guy goes to Vienna, Austria, and he goes to the birthplace of the Radler. So a Radler's, you take a lager or a pale ale or something like that and put a little bit of lemonade in it. But they invented that there. And he did one of those beer spas, and it's up on top of the hill. And he did that, and then they made a stick bed for him. He got a massage and then took a nap in a stick bed, and then gets on his bike and goes down to the bottom of the hill and goes down to that bar and parties. And it's like, oh, man, that is heaven.
That's pretty dang good.
I'm not going to argue with that,
Yeah, but man, I wanted to open a beer spa here for so long because I just thought it was such a good idea.
If you combined a natural hot spring in Montana with this idea, then I think you got a thing.
There we go. Hey, Warm Springs, Georgia.
Yeah.
FDR State Park, baby.
Is there a natural hot spring in Georgia?
Yeah, there's it's where FDR went. That's why it's
in Georgia? I didn't know.
Yeah, there's a hot spring. It was a big rehab facility. It was like a big drug rehab facility and physical therapy and all that. But 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the pool there is no longer tapped into the natural hot spring.
Okay. I didn't realize how much like geologic thermal activity was like even a thing in Georgia. But
oh yeah,
where does the North American craton crust belt lie? I don't know what state.
Well, apparently it goes through South Atlanta and then over to Augusta out to the ocean because we've had some earthquakes the past few years.
Because the craton is through. I want to say it runs along the Appalachian Range and then cuts through like Oklahoma or something like that, and that's where
that makes sense.
There is a fault line here, and it sometimes can have activity. It's basically like the oldest hardcore basalt crust or whatever, and then newer crust under it, and the southeast and southwest is the newer crust, and then the craton is the forever crust or whatever. But and at that distinction, there's a
there we go.
But...
Hey, we need a sandwich shop called the Forever Crust.
This is not an official term. This is just what I'm calling it. But I like the Forever Crust though. Yeah,
that's good. Well, y'all, it's getting pretty late. Y'all want to call it? Or you guys?
We're getting there. I've pretty much said all I have to say. I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
Well, next week we'll be way more prepared. I will have internet. I will be at my computer. I'll have videos to show everybody. We'll have audio on those videos.
It'll be.
Steven did a great job filling in, though. I thought.
I tried.
Yeah, honestly,
I very much appreciate that.
Yeah.
You chose well to have him do it and not me because I would not have done as well. So.
Heck yeah.
It'll be a good week next week because I'll be gone, so I won't be bothering everybody with 9/11 trivia. So.
Oh, bummer! I didn't realize you'd be gone next week. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I'm going to take Haley to an appointment next week, so it'll be nice. I think my first week I've missed since we've started. I want to say my first week I've missed.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we had you on once, and
you had me on as a guest. Yeah. Before my.
And now you're in the bullpen.
Yeah. Yeah. Before the official hazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I think next week we'll have Zane back, we'll have Nick back, and we'll have Jamie producing. Sorry, my bad.
I'll try and hop on at the end if I can come on.
Sweet.
I'll let you know what the day looks like. Yeah. What time?
There we go. And by the way, shout out to Zane. I win trivia this week by default.
Perfect.
Even if I'm not here next week, I'll lose trivia by default.
All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up since that's kind of my job here.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank y'all so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Sorry for last 2 weeks of technical difficulties and changes in how things work and all
in transition here. Yeah.
Yes, everything's changing all the time. So we're hoping to get back to a more stable stream over the next few months. But yeah, if you have any questions about Libertarian Party of Georgia, go to lpgeorgia.com. Hit us up on Twitter at lpgeorgia. Please go follow us on Rumble because that's where we get about 90% of our views, 90% of our interactions with people.
Nice.
And at some point, YouTube is going to ban us. And it's probably going to be the point when we talk about 9/11 for 4 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
So,
if it's not
definitely
that'll do it. Yeah.
So definitely go follow us on Rumble, and We don't have the integration of comments with the stream yet from Rumble, but we're hoping to at some point in the very near future, which would make everybody's lives a little bit easier. So you could just go to Rumble and stream there rather than this ridiculous platform called YouTube. Okay.
I'm surprised
right,
it's still
y'all.
on, honestly.
Me too.
Yeah.
Tune into the Free Georgia podcast coming out this Tuesday. Got a special guest on there. And come back next week. Liberty Libations, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see you then.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.